Welcome to the back
To the back.
to the back
To the back.
podcast. I'm Dakota,
I'm Sarah.
once again, back again for another episode. Why are you staring at me like I?
No, I just
you can take the reign for some of this.
in my mind when you
introduction.
said back again, I went Eminem.
Back
Shady's
again.
back,
Oh, yeah.
back. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, what?
So, that was all it was. I was just having a song in my head.
Yes,
Yeah.
as I constantly do. I think there's always at least a song in my head. I'd say like at least 40% of the time of the day, 20 to 40%. Because I don't go crazy. It's not like half the time, but
No,
a good majority of the time.
Mine's probably 60%.
There's like some kind of song or like rhythm stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, if I'm being honest,
Yours
it's
is
like
more. I'm just talking about for me
80%
personally.
probably.
Yeah.
Which actually has to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, in some cases, yeah, it actually does.
A lot of cases.
A lot of cases, yeah, but I don't know like all of
Yeah,
them.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's just a very common trait for autism.
Which, it's April.
It's autism awareness.
Did they choose? Is it because it starts with the A? I just realized that now.
I don't know.
It's the only one that has August does, and it has the AU. Why wouldn't they do August? Maybe
I don't know because
maybe something else. Maybe another representation got that.
Remember, I looked it up. ADHD has October, so that doesn't even make any sense. They both start with A. So
Well, ADHD should have got August then. You know.
Yeah,
The other
maybe.
A.
I don't know. I didn't bother to look up why April was Autism Awareness
Yeah.
Month.
Fair.
So maybe I should have.
There's probably some reason.
My bad.
But I know at least I wrote something down because I think we're going to be coming at this from similar perspectives, not the exact same.
Yeah.
And so before we begin, I want to acknowledge the importance of approaching the subject with like sensitivity and respect. Because as someone, I suspect that I may be autistic. I have not been officially diagnosed. This is a self-diagnosed perspective. And I'm trying to navigate my own journey with this. And I understand that there's a vast spectrum within the autistic community, and not everybody presents the same or deals with the same, like, I don't know.
Challenges?
I don't even say challenges because it's not, it definitely challenges, but just like the same, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of complexities. But I did do therapy, and when I did do therapy, I was diagnosed with OCD. Like she did. Like,
Yeah.
I have OCD and anxiety and possibly ADHD, and I definitely believe I am neurodivergent at the very least.
Well, OCD is on neurodivergency.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. But I just want to make it clear that this is just I don't want to misrepresent anybody in the autistic community, and I am coming at this with the most cautious and most respectful attitude I can.
Right.
That's just what I want to present during the whole thing, like a preface.
Well, I made a list because if I don't have a list, the ADHD side of me will take over. And I want to say up front, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 11. I am 45 years old. It is rare that women of my age that was caught so early. I honestly don't know how it was caught, besides the fact that I did daydream a lot in class and talk a lot in class. And so I guess I was a distraction for the teacher, and maybe that's how it was. And I think my mother saw an opportunity to have me on drugs and maybe be able to control me better. That backfired because I did not learn how to really swallow pills until I was in my 20s. So I'm pretty sure that's why they stopped. Like, I only took Ritalin for a little bit. And also because it was probably really expensive, because when I didn't start taking ADHD medication again until I was in my 30s. And that was only for a little while because it was so expensive. I had to see a psychiatrist every month to have the prescription filled. That cost money, plus the prescription, even with insurance, was just so much. And so I could not continue on that. But so I already knew I was neurodivergent. I didn't really know as much about my ADHD until the past few years, honestly. And it was in therapy, working through trauma and getting my CPTSD diagnosis. And as I continued to work through the trauma, I started demasking.
Yeah, I think masking.
And
is something we'll
yes,
talk about
yeah, we will.
Because that's something that you're not good at
I'm
as, or you can mask it well, but it's been harder for you to mask
yes.
recently, and it's
That's what
something that
that's what I was
I have
trying to get to.
always been able to mask.
Right, and that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, sorry.
Um, a- Again, as I was working through trauma, I started demasking, and I'm still in the process of that because, again, 45 years of masking is a lot, and you add all the trauma from childhood that I have, and the natural. It's just it's a difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing for me, and so, um, my both of the I have my therapist, my regular therapist, and the one that I worked with specifically with EMDR to work on my trauma. Both of them suspect I have autism. I don't have an official diagnosis. And before we even go into like the both of the traits that we kind of experience, right?
Yeah.
I just want to preface that I don't have official diagnosis because I don't have insurance, and even with insurance,
It's
a diagnosis
expensive.
is very
That's,
expensive.
I'm glad you addressed that. I was going to bring that up. That is
Second,
ridiculously
yeah,
expensive.
yes. Second, I don't know that even if I had the money, would I go and get an official diagnosis, because there are many countries that will not let you immigrate to that country if you have an autism diagnosis. So, and there's also something that I've learned in the past few years, that you can be denied life-saving medical care if you have
I did
disabilities.
actually. Yeah, but that's
And
something you just told me.
yeah.
But and also,
Um
like, I think because there is such a spectrum with autism. There's so many things still being discovered with it, and we found out that a lot of stuff is outdated, and so in the
yes.
medical field, and so everybody's still learning this, and so there is a chance, like, you spend all this money and you could get misdiagnosed. You know what I mean? Or
Well,
not see someone can downplay
right.
what you're experiencing is what I'm trying to say,
No, and that's the other thing
which I think
is
happened a lot
that,
with your childhood.
well, I think it's a lot of women, AFAB, people of color get misdiagnosed with other things, either bipolar disorder or BBD, general anxiety disorder, manic depression, and maybe they have some of those things, because I have OCD as well. But a lot of them were either autistic or ADHD, or like myself, where I suspect that I mean, I know for sure I have ADHD. It's a very strong possibility that I'm also autistic, that got missed, and when I say, like, I've done research, I've taken the RADS-R at least 7 times in the past year and a half, plus many other tests.
Yeah, in
I've
which
bought
I've
books.
I've taken all the tests, and I'll go
Yeah.
over my things with that.
Well, I'm saying, like, the minimum threshold for women to be considered autistic is 60 points for the RADS-R, and I'm somewhere between 161 and 164 every single time. So I'm well above the minimum threshold for that requirement. Again, even if I could afford it, I'm not sure I'd go and get the official diagnosis. A part of me wants it because, as a person who's been gaslit my entire life by the people around me, I struggle with trusting myself.
Yeah.
And so
It's the not knowing, right?
yeah,
Like,
I really struggle with not knowing things. That's a real big
that's one
issue.
of the big cause like I said, I've taken all the tests, and I'll probably, like, mention the scores. But one of the questions I see frequently in these tests is, how are you with uncertainty and, like, sudden changes? And I think the big thing with both of us, that we do not like that at all. We don't like sudden changes. We don't like the not knowing.
It's funny.
It physically, like, it makes me feel physically disgusting.
So, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because so Dakota likes to
Oh,
he likes to send me things.
my RADS-R is 127.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dakota likes to send me, like, things on Instagram and, like,
Which,
this
like, I'm
random
really
stuff, right?
well, like, a big thing is I like sending her, like, if I'm sure you've come across it, it's like, oh, which food are you choosing out of these things? And, like,
Yes.
that's, like, a big one. Or just, like, which whatever you're choosing. Like, pick a thing. What do you choose? Which would you rather? That's, like, a big thing that, like, I obsess over.
Right. And my point is, when he sends them to me and then he's like, you guess, if I don't guess it within, like, the first second or third, I get really frustrated.
Yeah.
And I realize it's the not having the right answer, not knowing is
Yeah.
a big trigger for me. And it's, I think, but the neurodivergency on also the trauma, like, it's so intertwined for me. Um, but like, oh my God, he would do this stuff. Like he would do the would you rathers a lot as a
Yeah.
kid. And it just, I know it's the uncertainty. It's the, I've, I've always felt like I have to know something. Like I have to have the right answers. I have to know. And I don't think it's just this is, I mean, I don't think it's just the society we live in, although we do live in a society that if you don't know it, there's a problem. It's
Yeah.
also just like it literally makes my skin crawl. Like that's the feeling, so that's how I started on this journey. Like I said, working through trauma and starting to demask, it made me realize what it was is I started being more present in my body.
Yeah.
So, and anything about trauma and even just like neurodivergency in general, disassociation is very high. Before you can do EMDR therapy, you have to take a test to show assessment to see how severe your disassociation is. If you get, I think it's 25 or above, they generally think that EMDR won't work for you. I was at 25, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that I focus very well when it's something that I want to focus on,
Yeah.
like, but, um, so it's just naturally in us to disassociate and disconnect from our bodies, to be in our minds elsewhere. Right. And, for me, the added level was the trauma and, not really knowing what it was like to be inside my body because I left my body a lot as a kid because to not fully feel everything that was happening to me. And so the past like 2 years, I've been learning to actually be present in my body and listen to my body. And that's when I realized a lot of the times when I'd get upset or I'd have what they call ADHD rage or whatever, right? When I'd say, oh, it's just I'm frustrated or I have anxiety, or what it was meltdowns because I was overstimulated because something either was too loud or too bright or didn't feel right on my skin.
These kinds of things I see in these tests.
Yeah. I have the thing where I can hear the appliances.
Yeah.
That are noises that nobody else can hear, but like I hear it, and once I hear it, I can't unhear it.
And I also want to know, I know everybody, well, I don't know, but I think because there are so many, it is a spectrum, not everybody has what I think is sometimes a privilege to mask, because in our like society, like it is, if you are deemed societally, like whatever society deems correct or whatever, like with masking, like being the conventional normal or whatever that means, you know what I mean? Like I think it is a privilege to be able to mask, but at the same time, it is tiring because masking is something you are constantly doing.
I don't know if it's a privilege. I don't really
To
understand.
be able to mask.
Oh,
That's what I'm. You
to be able to be high masking.
Yes,
because
I think it is
because autism is a spectrum.
Yeah.
We don't say high functioning, low functioning. We don't like that. It's high support needs, low support needs. So somebody like
and even that, like they're still like.
Well, yes,
so
because I would be considered low support needs, but I'm trying to tell you, it is a struggle every day to brush my teeth, to shower, to do daily tasks because I don't have habits. I have tasks. Everything I do, I'm thinking about it every step of the way that I'm doing it. And so a lot of times when I talk about how tired I am, it's rarely I'm physically tired. I am mentally tired because every task requires mental energy for me. Yeah. That's the simplest things. Making phone calls is so hard for me. Like doing things like getting gas, I'll put it off to the last minute because it's a struggle. Yeah.
My car literally has been hit and I still haven't gotten gas just because it's like I don't have the mental energy to go an extra place sometimes.
Right. But what I was gonna say is that those with high support needs aren't able to mask the way that we are.
And that's the thing, because throughout, like, obviously I'm just now in the most recent years discovering that what I may have may be on the spectrum when that concerns. But prior to that, my only experience with autism was I have an uncle,
Two.
two uncles
They're both.
who would be considered high support needs, or
Well, yes.
one is
One's
considered
nonverbal, one is
one is
verbal.
verbal, which even that term is considered something in the autistic community not what they want to be classified as. So what has been used, I'm just using it for now, not what I'm trying to say, but um, so like that's my experience, and also a friend of ours, right?
I don't know who you're talking
Oh,
about.
then I don't know. Maybe thinking of someone elementary school.
Maybe.
I'm thinking as in elementary school, within because I don't even know if this term is correct. Special needs.
Yeah.
There was that section, and that's the only time I really like had experience with people who would be like who have autism or on the spectrum. And so like
Right.
that was like my only knowledge, especially as a young kid.
Right.
And now I'm learning so much more about it. So like that's really like I want to re-emphasize that that's where I'm coming from with this.
And I will say that when so Dakota was in Gifted and Talented, and there's kind of a running joke on like social media, Twitter and like TikTok. It's like the and talented kid pipeline to finding out they're neurodivergent, like in
Which
college.
is weird. Like even though I wasn't, I've never seen anything. I've never been on that side of social media.
Oh, um, I think I'm on that because I already had ADHD, and then as I was going through my journey of like trauma healing and stuff like that, um, uh, like I said, that's what it started. There was TikToks with ADHD, and then there was a lot of the women that had ADHD also had autism, and I started seeing more, and I'm like, I really relate to that. That is my experience as well. But I was saying when Dakota was in elementary school, I asked his GT teacher. I was like, hey, I think Dakota might have ADHD, and the reason I said that is because I saw a lot of the same traits things that I struggled with, he was struggling with.
Wait, is
And
ADHD genetic?
yes, and
Yeah.
that's the other thing is that we've learned is that neurodivergency is genetic. So if you're taking your children in to get assessed, there's a good chance
They
you might
might
come
be
out
also.
with an assessment as well, or you might be like, hey, I relate to that. But yeah, I saw him struggling with things, and when I mentioned it to her, she was just like, no, I don't think. And he didn't present
Cause
the same
that's the
way.
thing is I am really good at masking. Like,
Well, and at the and it's me realizing that it was probably autism.
and then
It
it's
was the things that I was seeing in you that I thought were part of my ADHD, and some of them were, but they were also really just like autism. And I wish that I had listened to my gut and maybe look to see and get you assessed, and then maybe we could have figured out like, no, he's not ADHD, but it's definitely OCD and possibly autism.
the thing with that is because like with the masking and everything, yeah, I think like I said before, it is a privilege and like it can help in societal standards or situations, but like it's exhausting. Like I can't express how much it is exhausting, how much in the recent years, just in my life in general, that I'll be by myself after going to social events or anything, and just breaking down, whether that's crying or getting angry with myself or just getting angry at everything in general or for like no reason, feeling out of my body and feeling not human. Um, like I'll even look. I remember times when I was young, just like looking in the mirror, like crying because I felt so abnormal, and so like I had to put on a facade constantly. Um,
See, that makes me sad because I don't feel like I tried to let you be authentically
and like I
yourself
thought about like,
all the
and
time.
that's the other thing I even wrote down. Like I talk about all the time. Like I'm actually really good at making eye contact, right? But that's because I trained myself to do that. Like
Yeah.
I instilled in my at a young age. I was like, oh, people say it's good to make eye contact, make eye contact, and so now I do it naturally. But it's something that I ingrained like a military style into my brain. That's the other thing I was going to mention too. With you brought up my GC teacher. I thought about this the other day. Remember my English teacher from the middle school, while we took me out for online school, and she
Yeah.
said I was a distraction in all in that class.
Hmm.
I think that was me just generally being me and being my neurodivergent self and doing these traits, and she mistook it for me being bad.
But I don't even know what you
That's the thing. I
were
wasn't even
doing.
doing anything wrong. She said I was a distraction in the class, which I wasn't. My grades were fine. She called
Yeah.
me a bad student for no reason.
Yeah.
And what I thought at the time was maybe racism, which still could have been, honestly, it's Texas. But it could be her just not understanding that I'm being like, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know, because that was never a comment that was ever made aside from that one teacher. No one's ever said you were a distraction. If
No,
anything, they've
but
talked about how quiet you were.
yeah, because in most, I think in that class, I like
Maybe, I don't know.
slipped my mask in, you
Dude,
know?
she was a bitch. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, let's not start talking about, because I'm gonna get real fucking angry.
I just want to bring it up.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
Listen, I'm talking
I
about my
hate that
experience.
lady
Yeah, let me
still.
talk about my experience.
No, I know. I don't remember her ever saying anything to Annie and I about you being a distraction. I know she said you were a liar, and that really pissed me off. Which is funny because although you are good at lying,
I am.
I'm not good at lying.
I don't mean to say that so like casual. I'm not saying that like.
Well,
Like
yeah.
I'm trying to be like an espionage spy. But this is so random. Like I feel I don't know what this is, but like I feel like if I don't talk about something that's on my brain, I'm gonna lose it, and it like will make me upset. But like a big thing is textures, right? And
Yeah.
especially with food. And I didn't think I had a big texture thing, but then I like really like pondered on it and like laid down. I was like, do I? There was a time I like the repetitive with tuna, repetitive like where I had tuna like every single day for a year of high school.
Yeah.
And then if it wasn't the same, it would freak me out. Same meals and everything. And then the big one now is like if I have yogurt in the morning, it has to be thick. I don't like a runny, like if it's runny, I don't care if it tastes good, I won't like it. Like it has to be like a thick yogurt.
Yeah, that texture overriding taste was one of the things on my list, and something that I've noticed more and more in the last year.
Like
that
I want my yogurt to be Greek, not
like
Yoplait.
you know, like my issue with
not
like
yogurt.
Right. I will not eat anything that has, well, not anything, nuts in it. Like, don't give me a baked good with nuts in it. You've ruined it.
I don't like it. Like
Ruined.
I prefer. I think it does ruin it a little bit, but I don't mind it.
I do. If I want a peanut, I'll eat a peanut outside of it.
Yeah.
The exception is like Snickers and Paydays.
Yeah,
I do love Paydays. But the thing is, like, I go into it knowing this is gonna be peanuts.
Payday, yeah.
Like,
well, you don't like. I say you don't like the surprise.
I don't like surprises. I don't care if they're good surprises. It's still going to dysregulate me.
I like being hugged, but if you don't tell me you're about to hug me, I will freak out.
Yeah.
Like
oh my
I will
God.
like I don't like being touched
No.
and you're not and you're
oh
telling
my
me you're
God,
not
I
about
have
to
to tell
touched.
you. So I was talking to Natasha yesterday, and Natasha's my best friend. She's really my only friend, honestly, that I talk to her on a regular basis. And as I've started to demask over the past 2 years, we've realized that she is more than likely very neurodivergent as well. And so we'll just talk about stuff. And then she said that she thinks some guy was hitting on her yesterday at work, right? And he was like, we should go play tennis. And like, you don't understand. She's at home all the time. And she's like just talking about this stuff.
You should go play tennis?
Yeah.
Like I think there's, unless you are on like a tennis team, that is only just like picking up line. Like who just mentions that?
Well, then she was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then she's like, well, what about hiking? And she was I don't want to. Right, I don't want to be outside. Like, listen,
who's this Dos Equis?
Right,
most
interesting man
alive.
And so, but like her whole thing was, she's like, maybe he's just trying to be my friend, because that's a really. There have been many times that someone was hitting on me and I did not realize they were hitting on me until much later. I thought we were just having an interesting conversation, because the way I flirt is I info dump on you. Like I talk about things that interest me.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I don't really like many people. And so if I talk to you a lot,
it means something.
It's either because I feel a strong bond to you as like a friendship, or a romantic side, like a romantic interest. That's the only expectation.
Right. Explanation?
I can't talk. I hate.
Is that the word?
That's the only exceptions.
Yeah.
Literally, it was another E word.
Oh, I just thought of a Paramore.
Yeah.
You are.
Apparently, I don't think they like that song anymore, though.
You don't like it, or they don't?
They don't. I don't know.
Oh, it's a good song. Anyhow, this whole time she's talking about that, I was like, look, when you go back to him, just be like, hey, if you're wanting to be my friend, so approach it as that. You don't want to like put it out there. Like, but if you want to be my friend, you're going to literally have to stalk me like my best friend did. Cause that's how her and I became friends. And then also understand, I don't want to be touched. Like literally, I think I've maybe hugged her.
Don't touch me.
That's where this all came back. I'm sorry. My
Me.
ADHD took over for that moment when you talked about hugging. Like she's talked about, she's definitely not as comfortable with it as we are. But I will say, I'm less comfortable with hugging than you are, and I know the reason why is because of my childhood.
I'm not comfortable. No, when I say like I'm comfortable with like I like hugs, but if you don't tell me you're gonna hug me or I don't really want to hug from you at all, I don't like hugging. Like I don't. Sometimes I don't want to hug from you sometimes because I feel uncomfortable.
Yes, I'm aware.
She's my mom.
He stopped giving me kisses when he was like 5 and
that
hugs,
is something
and it makes me sad. But
weird.
It is, even when like Dakota hugs me, and I don't know if it's the autism or the PTSD. It feels good, but it doesn't. It's very unnerving for me. It's a real struggle for me. And I used to be like, I always tell Dakota, like when you have a partner and you touch them, it should be about them and not you, because they can feel that. But now I'm thinking it's autism. Like I think it's the sensory issues. Like I always like, don't paw at me when like with guys, like don't like half-ass rub me, right?
I just realized another thing. I don't in college, like when I leave with my roommates, like if I'm eating, I don't like to be talked to.
Oh God, I'm not allowed to talk to him. I'm not allowed to talk to him in this house.
Okay, don't when I'm eating.
When you're eating, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
That. Like you.
No, never.
I don't like that I'm that way. I don't like that I'm this way. Like that's like I mean that honestly. I don't like this way. I wish I could go out and eat with friends and that be like a normal thing. But when I'm eating, like I feel very vulnerable, and that's like my safe place.
Oh my God, you think it's like something? Sorry, you think it's like something like
You're gonna say
biologically,
no,
because animals are that way.
I was getting to that.
Sorry. Well, you know what?
No, I was getting to
you
that.
You interrupt me all the
Anyways,
time.
I was getting that.
Rude.
I don't know if you know, but in like you see interrogations in movies, they give like their suspects like food or donuts.
Oh yeah.
And it's to make them more vulnerable, because when you're eating, you lose like the subconscious thought of like, oh, so like they'll like tell the truth.
I'm thinking about
Transformers, the donut scene, and what is it?
When Anthony Anderson,
he's like,
the donut, and then he just immediately starts telling. But
I
also,
love that scene.
But also in the wild, animals, that's the reason, like, they make sure that when they're eating their back isn't exposed. So, because they're vulnerable.
And that's the thing, like, I don't like.
I will respect the not talking to you more now. I mean, I feel like I do a pretty decent job.
Especially because I have headphones in, and if someone, like, says something to me and, like say it again, like, talk a little louder, it, like, throws me even more off guard. And I get, like, then, like, my eating's ruined. Like, my whole, like, that hour is ruined for me.
And then let's talk about like with autism and ADHD, because honestly there is some overlap, and
that's another thing. That's because I think I
maybe
have one of these for sure. So
what I was gonna say is the maladaptive daydreaming, the constantly being in our heads, right? We know we live in the same house, but if we're in a room and no one was there to begin with, and then someone comes in, no matter if we heard their footsteps or not, there's a very real chance when they start talking, we're going to get startled, because you're so lost inside of
my own mind,
your own head. Yeah. Stimming.
I have constant narration in my head at all.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't know what it's like to have a quiet mind whatsoever. Like ever. It is constant 24/7. That is why it is difficult for me to fall asleep. It's difficult for me to stay asleep.
That's the same thing. I can't fall, like, I have to like think of things to fall asleep. Like I'm constantly thinking. I can't just go zen and sleep.
I'm not even trying to think of things. They're just there.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying I have to like think of something.
Oh, you have to change it.
I'm trying to quiet my head basically to sleep.
Stimming is another thing that I don't know. Sorry, if struggle is the right word, but I pick the sides of my fingers to the point of bleeding a lot of the time. I didn't pick at the sides of my fingers as much when I was younger, and I think the reason I do it now as an adult is because when I was younger, the way that I would stim, and just so you know, stimming is just like an action that you can do to help regulate yourself. That is why
Mine was nail biting for
yeah,
a long time.
but that's why that it's the stimming is to help regulate your emotions and center
I'm doing
yourself.
it right now. Like I'm literally like going like with my nails and everything.
Right. What I was gonna say is that when I was younger, it was I would shake my leg, like really bad.
That was nothing ever.
And I like to fiddle with things in my hand, like when I would go and talk
Fiddle's
to
a funny word.
yeah,
Sorry.
when I would go and talk
It's
to
a dirty word now. Sorry.
when I would go talk to my parents in like their room or something, like for whatever reason, I would pick up the remote and start messing with it. And my stepmom would always snatch it out of my hand and be like, stop doing that. And so.
You were a child, man.
Yeah. Well, I was a teenager, but.
Still a kid, bro.
Those things, it got trained out of me. Because I was shamed for it. Like if I was shaking the leg, Sarah, stop doing that. It's annoying. And so I don't do those things as much unless I'm like really, really, I say anxious, but really what it is like also being very overstimulated. So I went to picking the sides of my hands and causing pain. I also bite the insides of my cheeks. I grind my teeth.
You know,
I have permanent lines on the inside of my cheeks.
I do too, but you know the thing you hate? The face I make when I get upset?
I hate that face.
I bite my bottom lip, not in the light skin way.
What? I don't even. Oh no.
Not in the light skin way.
No. Okay, I know what you're talking about. No, it's not that.
I hate that trend, especially being a light skin. But no, like I'll bite it, and it's. I know you hate
because it's usually when you're
only
mad.
when I'm mad.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's only when I'm mad, but it's because I'm trying to calm down, and the way I'm calming down is sadly biting my lip.
Yeah, and then another one that I do, but I don't do in front of people. And I didn't even connect that until this last year. Is I hit my head. I have beat on my stomach and my hips and thighs for so much that I had left bruises. It's only in the moments when it literally feels like my skin is coming apart. Everything is too much. The world is too much, and that's the thing I want to talk about. It has. That feeling of the world being too much, of feeling like my skin's going to come apart, the feeling, a lot of people say like they, that are autistic say they feel like aliens, like they're not from this earth. I didn't even feel like that. And I think that's partly because of trauma. I felt like scenery. I have said this ad nauseum to the therapist that I felt like scenery and I was just there. Connecting to people is such a struggle for me. And so those moments when it is all just come to a head, it's too much. I have literally beat the shit out of myself. Like, it was, like I said, honestly, I thought I did it because, well, I just think I'm a horrible person. That is another thing that I struggle with, is all of these things. I know, I'm just saying all of these things that I have always struggled with, like sensory issues, like people chewing. God.
Oh yeah.
Like or
oh, I hate nail files.
Yeah.
Like when people like do nail files, I will like crumple up into a ball physically, and like I'll have to either if I can't leave the room, I'll have to do that, or I will leave the room. Like I can't be in the same room.
Or being touched, like that we've talked about that.
You know, like cotton swabs, right?
Oh my God. Literally. Like, yeah. It's just like, just thinking about a cotton swab being pulled apart is just, ugh. Like, it's the way that people feel about nails on a chalkboard, which don't bother me, surprisingly enough. What is it?
Oh my God. Your friend Natasha, doesn't she hate when silverware scrapes a plate? Remember
I think so, yeah.
When they came down?
Yeah.
And she hated it.
Yeah.
And she
like, I don't like it either. I get annoyed by the sound of my breathing sometimes. Like, when I'm talking to Natasha, I'll be like, I'm breathing too much. And she'll just start laughing. And what I mean is, to me, I'm breathing too loud. I don't like the way it sounds. All of that is just like, missing social cues. I think that was one I didn't think that I struggled with.
I don't think I struggle with that.
Again, not knowing when someone's flirting with me. So missing the social cue.
Yeah.
We talked about eye contact. I struggle with too much eye contact. I also thought that eye contact meant looking in someone's eyes. Apparently, to neurotypicals, it's looking at their forehead. I did not know that.
There's no way that's true.
That's supposedly. I don't know. But what
in the name?
What is it?
It's not forehead contact.
My biggest look back, and this is something that happened a lot though, is that when I was in high school, there was a guy I had a crush on. I had a lot of crushes on a lot of guys. Just whatever, right?
I had crushes on a lot of girls.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like.
Did they ever crush me back?
Sometimes.
No.
Okay.
No times.
It's not true. You had girlfriends in high school.
Like 2.
Okay. Anyhow, I had one in high school, so one more than me.
You had a girlfriend?
No, boyfriend, but that's.
How was your boyfriend? Never let
Yeah.
you go?
Anyhow, it was a guy I had a crush on. Someone told me it was his birthday. So the next day. And so I got him a birthday card and I gave it to him on the bus. It was not his birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Is something wrong?
No, I was just checking my thing. I thought I messed up with the sorry.
It wasn't his birthday. They were just playing a joke on me. And I got laughed at on the bus. And I just remember feeling what, am I so stupid that I missed this?
Which, by the way, it should be obvious. That's cruel and unusual behavior.
Well, it's bullying, but
it's beyond that. That's a flagrant 2 foul. If there's NBA, they'd be ejected from life.
It didn't. I don't know. There was a part of me that's was it wrong to get a birthday card?
That is so sweet. No.
I
still have my birthday cards from friends.
Yeah. But it's just stuff like that. Not, like I said, not realizing someone's flirting with me. How, I don't know. There is definite stuff that I just miss, or again, the struggle with, I don't do small talk. It makes me not feel good. I don't like it. And then also the, special interest, right? One of my special interests is people. And I realize now it's because I'm trying to figure out how to be a people.
Well, I realize mine is lists, but more specifically just things I like niche things I like. I have a long running list notes on my app of my favorite anime characters, food, and these are all subcategorized.
Yes, no, he has lists on lists on lists on lists on lists.
It goes back to me sending a post about what would you choose. I like knowing the favorites.
He really loves to rank things.
I like ranking things.
Yeah, I don't like ranking things.
Not people, because people that feels,
I don't like
that
ranking
feels inhumane
things.
to me.
It doesn't make me feel good.
I'm not Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, true. But people have been my special interest since I was a kid, and it's a lot to do with trying to figure out what makes them tick. And again, it's me now realizing it's I'm trying to figure out myself and how I connect. How can I connect? How are they doing it? And I've always been really good at assimilation. I've always made the joke, you could put me in any kind of situation and I would assimilate to it.
Yeah.
Chameleon. But yet I'm still, here's the thing, is because they talk about the uncanny valley, where it's that neurotypicals, even if they don't know we're neurodivergent, they know. They can sense that something is different with us. Yeah. So even though I can assimilate to a lot of different, you could dress me up in high heels and whatever. I don't want to, but you could do it and put me with a bunch of rich people, and I'd somehow probably walk away. People would be like, "Oh, she's really interesting," because I learned a long time ago, to be interesting, you must be interested. Yeah. Right? So you just ask people a lot of questions about themselves. But then I take it too far. Here's the problem, is I take it too far. I ask too many questions, and then I seem like a fucking interrogator. Because again, neurotypicals don't really want you to know them unless they actually really want to know you.
They want to be made to feel known.
Yeah. So that was that has always been my strongest and permanent special interest.
Makes me feel less human that I realized one of my special interests, I like people, but low-key more than people. I like fake people.
Yeah.
Fictional characters.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
You're just I like people, these people and these humans on Earth. And I was like, I like cartoons and people in graphic novels and comic books. And
right.
anime, and I like how they work.
Yeah.
People are cool too, but.
Do you think it's because that's a more controllable and accessible Like,
I think so.
yeah. Um, Even though I talk about like people are my special interest, but I also say things like I hate people because like I hate the human race as a whole because we've done so much horrible things. But at the same time, the part of me that's so empathetic is like I can see a horribleness in you, but also see a goodness in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's rare that someone is completely
Evil.
terrible, right? And
Yeah,
I
well,
have seen some pretty terrible just in my own family.
Yeah.
You know, so, but anyhow, that was like my strongest. I also obviously love music. It is probably the next strongest special interest. Then books and film. And then.
Oh, I was going to just, because there's only one more thing I wanted to mention before.
Yeah.
I think representation was like, I think I was trying to find like representation in media, and I just want to highlight like I think what is a good one, like a best one, and you can't really tell, but Greendale Community Abed is, I think, because obviously it's a whole spectrum, but I think he is one of the best representations as someone on the spectrum or having autism in media. Because I don't know if you know this, the writer community is autistic, which I think helps when writing an autistic character. He has childlike interests, but isn't treated as a child by the show. You know what I mean? Like he isn't like, oh, because he like the like whatever a typical representation in autism as an autistic person in media is portrayed as usually, and he has a special interest, film, but he isn't necessarily like the what's the term, like when like because there's some like a savant. He's not necessarily a savant. He's not the best filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like that whole episode, he come at the end of it, he's like, God, please do something to end my movie. It's bad. You know what I mean?
Even though I would argue that Troy is autistic as well.
Yeah, I just want to say though, but it's canon that he is also, which we were both coming from. He's an undiagnosed autistic.
Yes,
that's what he. That's what he is, and like also ableism, like it was never used as a major plot point. You know
no,
what I mean?
I the thing I do we talked about that I love so much about Community is that they are a group of people that normally wouldn't mix, right?
Yeah,
and they don't, with the exception of what's his name. They don't try to change each other. No, not Jeff.
Oh, Pierce.
Yeah, that's the only one they actually really try to change. The rest, they have moments where they get irritated with each other, but they just accept each other for who they are.
Yeah.
You know, but also, you know, my theory, besides that, definitely Donald Glover's character Troy exhibits what we now know autism looks more like, right? A lot of neurodiverse people, the people they become really close to, they unknowingly are coming close to people that are also neurodiverse. Yeah. Like, so if you have a friend that's neurodiverse and you're really good friends, just maybe it's something you want to look at, right? I'm not saying you can't have friends that are neurotypical, but if I'm being honest, I don't really have any neurotypical friends. Most of my friends are neurodivergent in some way.
Yeah. Sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I'm trying to not let this like run really long.
We're at a good stopping point, but I want to let you.
Well, we get in. Another special interest was rocks when I was younger, like, which is very autistic.
I fuck with rocks, and I'm not talking Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, like I love the feel of them, the look of them. That's what I determine what a rock.
It's a rock.
Oh, mimicking. Like I will like pick up on other people's accents, and I always thought I really no like when if I hang out with someone, especially if they're really strong country accent, my southern accent will get stronger. Yeah, like I don't mean for it to.
I don't mean.
It's just something that happens. Obviously we talked about emotional dysregulation, like, and here's the other thing. So autism and ADHD, it's obviously our brains are wired differently, right? But both of them, it's a deficiency in dopamine. So because I'm ADHD, I'm double deficient.
I say all the time. Obviously, I'm straight edge. Don't do drugs. But if they made dopamine or more specifically nostalgia a drug, I'd be on the streets an addict.
Oh my gosh. Self-imposed rules, hard rules that I put on myself.
Same.
Like just I always tell people, trust me, there is nothing you can say to me that I haven't already said to myself. You can never be as hard on me as I am on myself. Being told I'm very self-aware.
I'm told that a lot.
Yeah. And then also be like, oh, you're such a little adult. I heard that a lot as a kid. You did too. I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, look, little man.
He's so emotionally mature. Blah blah blah. Like, All of this stuff, right? I heard all of those things as a kid. I mean, I cannot tell you the amount of times someone's like, "You're so self-aware," and I'm like, "Do y'all not fucking obsess over yourselves?" Like, I don't. I'm the most interesting topic I know. Like, and I'm not saying that to be smug. Like, I
I can't.
never get tired thinking about
I can't
myself.
imagine being someone else.
Right. Again, we talked about how like I'm a terrible liar, but also another thing is like I don't like being lied to. And like a big thing is with Annie and I was lies of omission, like where it's like it's not lying, but you're not telling the whole truth. And he never understood why it bothered me so much. But I think it's a lot to do with the autism, like because I also have like a really strong sense of justice. Like I want fairness. I want equality. It's something the fact that they thought that autistic people had a lack of empathy, and now they're realizing that's absolutely not true at all. We're deeply empathic.
That's not correct.
Right. And I've been called sensitive my entire life. Like, and not in a good way. It was, oh, well, we have to walk around on eggshells around Sarah. Like, I'm starting to understand, yes, you fucking do. You just fucking do, right? I am sensitive. I am sensitive to the world around me. Everything is too much. And my brain takes in way more information than your typical person. If you're neurotypical, it is not going to be, I don't know if you'll be able to understand what that's like. And so, yes, I am sensitive. It's just the way that I was built. And so that's kind of like where I am with this is me continuing to demask and to accept. Like when you were like, I wish I wasn't like that. I don't like hearing you say that because that is who you are. Like, I mean, obviously, if you have a meltdown and you say so, like, it doesn't give you a right to be an asshole, right?
Yeah.
And you definitely, if you are, you need to apologize and you need to try to work. You know, like, but also, could the people around us not be fucking dicks? Like, and understand that some of us, every day is a struggle just to be existing. Like, you know, one of the ways that I regulate is sighing. And it's like triggering for you. It
triggers me a lot.
Yeah. Because you think, oh, she's upset about something. And I've just gotten to where I have to tell you, like, it's not that. It's just existing. I'm just sighing because I exist and it's difficult. It is difficult for me to exist. And one of the things I've also learned more recently is that the higher masking you are, that as you get older, like, what is it? Skill progression wanes. So that's why like the things like cleaning the house and stuff like that is getting more difficult for me. So I don't know. I also want to throw out there, don't use the term Asperger's. It is based in eugenics. Yeah, it's racist. I
didn't even mention it because I just didn't want to.
Well, no, I want to.
No, I think, yeah, it is. The
missing puzzle piece is gross. That is also based in that kind of thinking. A lot of autistic people have embraced the infinity symbol to show that like the spectrum of everything of autism. So I don't know. I guess the whole point of this is
I'm coming from a perspective of both real self-diagnosed. I want to know, and hopefully I'll continue to find out more about myself.
My thing is, please, like, and also if you want, like, I feel like you talked about community, but I have like the best representation for neurodivergency in media is Bob's Burgers. That entire family is neurodiverse.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And so if you want to see what ADHD and autism look like, obviously there's like some extremes because it's a cartoon, right?
Yeah.
But it's pretty spot on to what it's like being neurodiverse.
My hair's going all over the place and it's bugging me.
Okay, I know.
No, it's I feel like a little Sideshow Bob even more.
No,
like I'm about to kill Bart.
I don't know. I told you to use the diffuser. It would have shrunk it up. But anyhow.
Yes.
You really like to shut me down.
No, sorry. I don't know.
My point was like
I think it's a thing. Also, because like you towards the end of episodes you're like I don't know, and I don't know when you're wrapping up, so I don't know when to like.
No, I just say I don't know a lot. Yeah.
And so like I'm like, oh, wrap it up. No. It's like a roller coaster, and you don't know when the drop's about to happen.
Right, it's not the fucking cliffhanger over here. It was a ride at Six Flags. It was like my favorite ride.
The Lions cliffhanger. I was like,
but also yeah. No. My plea would be even if you don't know somebody autistic, right? To do a little research and understand that in the past 10 years, they have learned more and more, and they're still learning, and that a lot of what you see in media is not accurate representation, because a lot of that was based on where they were only studying young white men, right? Like, and that autism can look so vastly different for everybody that is autistic, and that yes, it is a disability, but that doesn't mean that we're dumb, right? It doesn't mean that we can't tell, maybe not right away when you're talking down to us. Like, I would just ask you to do more research and to be more open to debunking like what you think it looks like.
Be open. I think that's
a good rule.
Be open.
For in life in general.
Be open. Don't be so close-minded.
I always say, like, I'll wrap it up with this. I always say in meetings when I go is that I'm smarter than I look, but I'm just dumb enough. And that just means I'm dumb enough to learn. I understand that I don't know everything.
Take it, ingest it, try it out.
I hope this was helpful and wasn't too rambly.
And I hope the video turns out well.
I know, I see you just sitting there staring. They're refreshing.
I've been seeing the clipping, and it's the way it.
We're still adjusting to the new equipment. That's really all it is.
Everything's a work in progress. I love you.
I love you.
To the back.
To the back.
To the back.
To the back. Podcast. Struggled with that.